Hey everybody, we're back. And I have our guest, Corey Dissin, and he's going to be here talking to us about a couple of different things, which I think is kind of important. One of them is going to be his book that we're going to be discussing called Going the Distance. A really cool name. If I do say so myself, I think he did a great job with that. We're also going to be talking about some is important things like digital marketing, regular marketing, and business coaching because everybody in business needs a hand once in a while. I know we all try to do it by ourselves, but sometimes a little advice can go a long way and very much appreciated. So with that, welcome to the show, Corey. How you doing today?
It is a pleasure and a privilege. Thank you for having me.
Oh,
I'm
you're
excited
welcome.
to be here.
I love being able to talk to people that can think outside the box, and I love people that can kind of really focus on business because I have my own business, and it's not easy to get it out there, and it's not easy to get that startups and figure out how to market yourself, how to do simple things that we should. It sounds easy until we do them. So
Well, the tasks are easy,
yeah.
but being consistent with them, that's where it gets complicated.
It does. So first of all, tell everybody a little bit about you. Tell them about your business, what you're doing, how you got into what you're doing.
Sure. Well, first the earth cooled, then the dinosaurs came. No, I'm just kidding. My name is Corey Dissin. I am a life and high performance coach as well as a marketing and business coach. I spent the better part of 3 decades in the broadcast production industry, running a big studio in the Philadelphia market. I was also the manager for a pretty well-known voiceover announcer by the name of Paul Turner. That name might not mean too much, but he was the announcer voice for the Howard Stern show. And I was his manager for 10 years and ran his production company until he sold it, and then stuck around for 17 more years after that. And then I opened up this little consulting coaching business in 2018, and it got so popular, thank goodness, that I was able to walk away from that production business in 2020, and basically living a life of semi-retirement now. But I'm still, I still work with anywhere from 15 to 20 clients at a time.
Oh, that's a pretty good amount of clients. So let's kind of start off with marketing. Marketing is probably one of the most important things that we can do. And yet at the same time, we sometimes throw rocks at walls and it just doesn't go. It doesn't break it. So what are some like important tips we need to understand with marketing?
Well, the first thing you need to understand is that marketing, in the most simplest terms, is about creating attention. Okay, most people confuse marketing with sales. Those are two different things. Sales is what happens after you do the good marketing. So your job as a marketer is to get your doorbell to ring. Number two is marketing is a long, painful slog. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of patience. Unfortunately, with the technology the way it is, we're sort of a, press it and expect it society where you tap an app and you can order food, or you can order a car, or you can order a room. And most folks think that their marketing acts that way, especially when you can upload to all these free platforms out there, and you can, get on LinkedIn or Facebook, whatever. It doesn't work that way. It takes an immense amount of rinse and repeat for your marketing to stick and be remembered. And those are oftentimes the issues, the problems, the hiccups, the hurdles that I spend, helping my clients overcome, is keeping their nose to the grindstone, keep swinging that rock against the hammer without it cracking, knowing that it's not, on the 101st blow, the rock will crack, but it was the 100 before it that made it crack. Not everybody can stick around until 101.
Yeah. That's definitely a challenge myself that I have run into, and I know it takes time, and you got to have the patience. And I don't think people really have patience because they know they want to just jump in and get the end result, really quickly. But it's not always that easy. And I know social media has really kind of taken over the way that we market things. But at
For
the
sure.
same time, it's if you know Facebook or you know any of these things, unless you're really throwing a lot of money into the advertising part of it, um, they limit you. You get these pages, and it's like sometimes I've seen people with like 1,000 people in it, and at the same time, only 3 people get a chance to view the post. So it's like, you got to deal with these strategies that and understand it to be able to get those things to work. What's your take on social media and marketing that way? Is it really as good as we think as it is?
It definitely is. I am I drink the social media Kool-Aid. I mean, especially LinkedIn in particular. But I want to just quick rewind to something you said about, social media takes patience. I would say that that assessment is half correct because you left out the other half. It's yes, you have to be patient, but you also must take relentless action. You can be patient while sitting still,
Yeah.
but you have to take relentless action. There's several very granular tasks that folks need to do on social media that most folks aren't willing to do day in, day out without getting that, reward in order for social media to work. And the reason why I can say that is I didn't read it in a book. I didn't go to some, industry conference and sit in on a seminar and learn that from a speaker. I learned that from messing up and trial and error and thousands upon thousands of hours on these platforms to figure out what set of consistent tasks bear fruit. And it all boils down to it's like going to the gym. Okay. Most folks want to be able to have the bodybuilder physique or the strongman lift without lifting the little weight first or without lifting the weights in progressive overload long enough so that you can get the buff beach body. It's very much this, and people quit for the same reasons because they say, "Oh, okay, I got a LinkedIn page. Oh, I have 10 more connections today. Oh, I posted something on Instagram," and then they watch the clock and then they come up with some imaginary deadline. If in 3 weeks I don't get a sale, social media doesn't work. And that's just not the way it goes. You have to just be relentless. I mean, if you were to spend a day with me and see what I do and how I do it and how I'm able to turn, connections into leads and leads into clients, you would be sort of mystified that it's not so special, but it's relentless.
Yeah. So obviously there are a lot of social media platforms out there, and probably more so than not, there are ones that are better tuned to business than your social, what we normally do every day. What are some of the ones, if you have a business, that they should probably really think about joining and being a part of?
The first thing I would say is you need to understand if you're business to consumer, B2C or B2B, because that makes a difference. If you're business to business, LinkedIn is the heavyweight champion. No one even comes close. I always tell my clients and potential clients, if you don't want to make money, don't go on LinkedIn. If you're business to consumer, Instagram is a real good one. TikTok has had its success. I mean, I'm on the big four, I call them: LinkedIn, Facebook, X, and Instagram. Each I've been able to get some water from each of those wells, but LinkedIn by far beats them all. Instagram still has a business to business application. The bottom line is they're just tools. And the tools are in place not necessarily for you to run commercials for your business all day. Okay. A lot of people get that confused. If you watch any television station, they have both commercials and they have programming. The commercials run in between the programs. Most folks are pretty good at getting the commercials out, but they have no programming and then they don't get the results they want. Um, so if they can use the tools correctly, then they can start to get the results they desire.
Gotcha. One of the things I noticed is that back in the day, you could really gain a lot of people really quickly on all these platforms and followers. But At the same time, now that they've really limited it, it's very hard to get followers and everything else on these different platforms. The other thing is that even though you may have a million people following you, are they quality? So what are the things that you can physically do to try to find quality followers and also build your following?
Well, the first thing is you need to be searching in the industry that's related to whatever your product or service is. And you don't necessarily, I equate it to a bullseye. I mean, a target. A target has a bullseye in the middle, but there's a series of concentric rings that line the outside of it. You don't have to hit the bullseye every time, as long as you hit the target. So if let's just say you are a an actress, maybe you do local commercials, you do local theater, and you work with some video production houses. You can target video production, you can target audio production, you can target advertising agencies, you can target marketing companies, etc., and all of the various positions of the people that work in those companies because social media is like the game 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. You ever play that game? So 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, for those who have never played, is that you can name any actor or actress, and Kevin Bacon has been in so many movies that you can generally make the connection within 6 degrees to get to him. So if you named, I don't know, Lindsay Lohan, you can eventually get to Kevin Bacon because Lindsay acted with this person in this movie and that person acted with this other person in another movie. That is how social media works. Most folks try to get Kevin Bacon, period. The way social media works is it's a series of concentric rings, it's a ripple effect, and you're connecting with your connections, plural, add that little apostrophe at the end, your connections. If you have that mentality, you're going to be tapping into all these different networks and then exponentially increasing your reach and getting people that could not only hire you direct, but could refer you and you could become top of mind when your particular product or service is in need.
Interesting. And I think also the other idea that we're going to kind of need to do that is when you are putting out content, quality content. I've heard that sometimes if you make it all, like you said, all commercial, people aren't going to like want to go listen. But at the same time, if you can give them advice or you can give them tips and tricks or something like that, it could actually help you out there too.
All of that stuff is correct. A good rule of thumb, believe it or not, when it comes to social media content to market yourself is less about what you do and more about who you are as a person. People buy from people. Yes, if you're selling widgets and you want to, say why your widget is the best or the cheapest or the most effective, whatever. Yes, you want to be able to put that out there. But ultimately, people buy from people they know, like, and trust. When's the last time you spent a lot of money with someone you didn't know, someone you didn't like, or someone you didn't trust? Never. It's never happened. So the content you create should be designed to attack those three things. Get them to know me as a person, get a certain segment, you're not going to please everyone, to like you, and then get them to trust you by showing you're an authority with what you do. So that's kind of where I navigate people. What will build know, like, and trust?
Like that. So, let's kind of also talk about your business coaching. What is
Sure.
that entitled? If somebody needs something, what would be some of the things that they would be needing you to help them with?
I mean, it spans the spectrum, but it generally is I'm really good at my service, but I'm having a problem growing my network and getting customers. So how do we do that? Well, we make sure it could be everything from cleaning up your existing social media presence, making it consistent across the board, marketing yourself like the big Fortune 500 companies do, even if you're a solopreneur. There's a whole sort of unit devoted to that. There is making sure your branding is on point. Under the umbrella of my companies, I own a design company. So if folks want to hire my gang to create a website or a logo or social media content for them, we can do all that. Or if they have someone or they do it themselves, we can sort of be an armchair quarterback for them and guide that person, sort of an ad hoc creative director to say, okay, you want to be focusing on X, Y, or Z. This is a better color scheme. Here's a good slogan. How do you implement? Because branding, that's another thing that, you know, gets confused a lot. Branding is actually two things. Most people remember the noun of branding: logo, color, font, icon, typography, etc. But they forget about the verb. Branding is a verb. That's the action you take of plastering that noun all over the place for a sustained period of time. Most folks don't understand all the different ways you can weave your brand in. So we're working on branding, we're working on social media presence, but then there's network growth. You know, if you don't have a pool of people to draw from, you can't get anyone. So you have to learn where those fish are biting, how to get them to bite, how to get them to jump into your boat. And there we have systems in place that we teach for that on a few different platforms, mainly LinkedIn and Instagram. Those are the two money ones. And then there's also the accountability factor. We check on you. We make sure we look at analytics together. We see if you're growing. If you're doing the task the right way, you can predict a certain result. The result doesn't come. We audible, make change and fix. There's anecdotal evidence. I get a lot of, well, I had this problem. I got this question. I didn't know how to answer it. Can you help me with that? So there's a lot of that sort of um, color commentary to the play-by-play announcer where they'll be teeing me up some things and I'll say, "Oh, okay, here's how you want to handle that. Oh, you got an NDA that you don't know how to decipher? Send it to me. I'll help you with that. You got a proposal that's they threw you a curveball. Let's see if we can work that out together, et cetera, et cetera." So a lot of it, look, I've built businesses, I've sold businesses, I've run businesses at a high executive level, and all I try to do is share not just the X's and O's, but the attitude and the approach that gets things done.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. Now, we got about 5, 6 minutes left, so I want to kind of finish the show with your book, which is called Going the Distance. And tell me a little bit about the book and what was your passion for writing it?
I had a few different motivations for that. I mean, in no specific order. One thing I wanted to do was I wanted to pay homage to the people whose shoulders I stood on to get me to the place where I'm at. People that I love and respect and who opened doors for me and gave me these nuggets of advice that I was really able to kind of put together like puzzle pieces and use them over and over and over again in certain situations. So that's kind of how the book is structured. Every chapter is like a round. It's about boxing. It's set up like a boxing card. So round one, you meet the opponent, which is really the person who I'm paying homage to, and we talk about some episodes and anecdotes, what happened, how this person affected my life, and real world examples, not just some theory. I applied this. This is what happened. This is what I learned, and at the end, you get the scorecard of this is what you want to put in your back pocket. For example. Hustle beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. That's a lesson that I learned from one of my mentors. And then at the same time, it's kind of a autobiographical journey because the book starts in childhood, 8 to 10 years old, and goes all the way up to present day. So you got to get a chance to kind of ride shotgun during my sort of Forrest Gumpian experience. And I also wanted to sort of have a record, a legacy for my two sons who didn't grow up with me. Obviously, I had 30 years on them before they came into this world. And I wanted them to know where I came from, hence where they came from. So they have it documented for all the world to see. So it is a love letter to them as well.
Awesome. Now, kind of tell us the most important part of this is how to contact you, your website, how to get your book, stuff like that.
The easiest way is CoreyDissin.com, CoreyDissin.com. And I always say, if you Google my name and you can't find me, I'm not as good of a marketing coach as I promote myself. So you should be able to Google me and land just about anywhere. There's pages and pages and pages of content that I've been lucky enough to amass over the years. But you can hit me up on the social media pages. Obviously, there's contact information on my website. But yeah, that's kind of how that works.